Hello, this is KC7NYR and welcome. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to install Parrot Linux. Now, the reason why I'm bringing you to their website, parrotlinux.org, is because they got multiple versions and you want to make sure as a home user you get the right version. So first of all, at the top of the page, if you click download, the version you're interested in is the home edition. If you click on the security version, this is for those who are interested in forensics and development use. So stay away from these unless you are interested in those versions. So go up to the download and go down to the home edition, and here's what you get. Scroll down and you will see the Live Installer ISO Home Edition. This is Mate desktop or the KDE Plasma desktop, or you have the home edition virtual machine Mate. Now I downloaded this one here in the middle, KDE home edition. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is I'm going to install this on a virtual machine. So I'll start the VirtualBox Manager, and the first thing you want to do here is click on New. So we know the name of it's going to be Parrot OS. We also know we want to leave the folder the same. We want to check here, we know for sure it's Linux. And lastly, the version, we know it's Debian. So we'll go up here to 64-bit, which is what it is, and then click the next button. Here, my hard drive is about 8 gigs on this laptop. You want to put as much as you can, but do not go into the red. So about 4 or 4.5 gigs is fine. Click Next. Next, you want to create a virtual hard disk now. Leave that at the default setting and click Create. Here at the hard disk file type, always leave this at VirtualBox Disk Image because that's what we're going to use, a VDI. It's always defaulted there. Click Next. In the storage physical hard drive, a dynamically allocated hard disk file will only use space on your physical hard disk as it fills up to the maximum fixed size, although it will not shrink again automatically when the space on it is freed. And that's what we're selecting. Or you can click Fixed Size Hard Drive. File may change, takes longer to create on some systems, but often faster to use. So I stick with dynamically allocated. Click Next. Now this is the actual size of the hard disk itself. I usually run just because I like about 32 gigs. This all depends on how big your hard drive is. And now click Create. Now it's pretty quick. You can see it's created. Now we don't want to go into settings here unless you need to adjust something specifically in the virtual machine itself. So we'll just leave that alone. Now the next thing you want to do is click the Start button at the top where it says the green arrow, Start. Here it automatically gives you an empty because it's looking for your DVD player, which some folks have something already pre-burned on a DVD. I do not. I have an ISO image. In this case, go down here and click on the file, and it'll open up the file location, and you can see Parrot KDE Home 4.7. Once that's selected, you go down here and click Open, and now it fills it into this field. And now you can start the virtual machine. And what this is going to do is it's going to actually give you a live mode and all these different modes. But you want to go live because this is the same as installing, not installing it directly, but gives you a live look, meaning you can test the operating system prior to installing it either on your local hard drive or desktop. In this case, it's a virtual machine, which is the same, except it's a virtual versus a hard disk or laptop. So we're going to go ahead and let it load, and I usually leave these two options alone until it loads because in a virtual atmosphere like this, if I click these too soon before the drivers are loaded, I can lose my mouse. Okay, so let's let it load up and see what it's going to do. So, and you can see in my background, I'm running MX Linux as my regular Linux operating system. So here we go. We'll see how long this takes. And usually it's with Debian, it's a lot faster. And of course, you can see it is. So here's our options. It's already detected the hard drive, excuse me, the internet connection. It looks like it's already sees everything. Debian's quite fast, and this is why I prefer it. Now, this is your options for your keyboard layout. Everything looks good. I want USA and United States English. Click OK. And now let's see what it does. Okay, so looks like that was pretty quick. A lot faster than a lot of the systems. So this here, it looks like we have something on a desktop called the license. So, you know, you can open that up and it tells you all about this. It's pretty nifty. Okay, so that's this look. It's the first time I've ever seen it, Parrot. Okay, inside the virtual machine, I want to explain for those who may not see in my previous videos, everything outside of this box, meaning all these options, this is the virtual machine settings itself. In case I need to change these at any time, also I can take what's called a snapshot, which means I can actually back it up in case it crashes. At the very bottom, below the bottom window of the OS, you'll see all these windows, and these are also virtual machine settings, but we're not going to adjust these in this video. Okay, so let's take a look and see what we have. At the very bottom, the application launcher, Dolphin, this would be your file manager. Looks like this is your web browser. That's your terminal, which would be the console. And this is your text editor. Looks like up here at the right corner, let's click on this. This gives us an opportunity to refresh, open Dolphin, and configure your desktop, lock screen, and leave, meaning you can sign out. Okay, so looks like we're done here. Let's take a look what we can do with it. Okay, so we have applications, and it looks like that was pretty fast. And I'm guessing this is already installed. Normally, with a live CD version, they give you an install option on the desktop. So let's take a quick look and see what they give us. So in the appliances or applications, in this case, they give you development, games. Let's take a look at those. So this is the menu type it has here, multimedia. Okay. They give you disk burner and copier, so forth there. So it looks like it's pretty light. They only put on here what you actually need, and so you can add anything that you want. So it looks like it's got Office, LibreOffice is in here. So this is why it loads so quick. Here's your settings, system settings, package manager. So it looks pretty cool. It's very light. No wonder it loaded so quickly. Okay. Let's see, this is the computer here, and this would be your system, you run command. This is all your file systems here, so it looks like it loaded pretty fast. And as far as I can tell, let's take a look at the Dolphin file manager, see what it gives me. And I don't see anything else, so as far as I'm concerned, this actually loaded. Now, how would I know? Well, normally, like I said, on the desktop, we would see something to the effect that allows us to actually install. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to do a reboot and make sure that I'm right. Since these are multiple desktops right here, this option. So let's open up the internet real quick and see what Firefox looks like. Okay, And what's this say here? So this is a nice little thing. You can do a actual profile if you'd like. So I haven't seen that before. And it seems to run fairly nice. And this is coming right out of the install on a virtual machine. So this is quite nifty. So what you can do is go in here and install anything that you would need. Debian's notoriously light. I kind of like Parrot, the way they're doing this. It's really nifty and quite quick, actually. So let's go ahead and click here, get rid of that. And as far as I can tell, I think it's ready to go. So let's go ahead and hit leave and to go into restart and take a look at the reboot, or we'll hit OK. And let's reboot the virtual machine and see what it does for us. Now it's saying remove the medium. See, so let's see what it does. I'm just curious. So it didn't have any medium because it was on a virtual machine, so it halted. Now this is something that you're going to see in a virtual application. So I do this on purpose, so in case this happens, you don't panic. So what you want to do is go ahead and reset. Okay, and this will either put us back into the boot menu, or it'll put us back in a CD because I didn't actually install it in the virtual machine. And this happens depending on which. Now it says no bootable medium found, system halted. Okay, so that's good. This is good. This is good to find out what happened, right? So this is exactly what you want to see when you're, there you go. So it actually didn't see anything, right? So we'll go ahead and close. Machine state, we're just going to power it off. So in this particular instance, this is a great session for the fact that you can see what happens when things don't work right off the bat. So let's start the virtual machine and see if it does it. So now we're going to go back into Parrot OS and see if it actually boots. If it doesn't, that means that the installation didn't take. And sure enough, I have no medium found. So it did not install. So here we go. Perfect example. It did not install and didn't install properly. So let's go ahead and power it off. And we know that it did not install properly. So what we want to do now is remove the virtual machine, delete all files, and start over. And here we go again. So evidently I didn't do it right. So let's go Parrot OS and find out what I did incorrectly. And you got to remember, not all of them go smoothly, and I don't mind this happening for the fact that you can see that this can happen to you. So again, we'll start over and find out maybe at the beginning it just booted into the live version, and I did not see the opportunity usually where I see the install portion of it, and that could be because I overlooked it. So let's create the virtual machine, hit start again, and we'll load it one more time just like I did before. This is Parrot KDE ISO, and open it up and make sure that I'm selecting the right options. Okay, so we got it says here live mode and forensics failsafe. So I'm install. See, I clicked the wrong one. Do you see that? I need to install it. So in this standard installer, I selected the live and did not install it. So we're going to click the installer mode now. Now this is the correct way to do it. So there you go. So normally a lot of the distributions gives you the install from the actual desktop. In this particular version, it does not. So I learned something along with you. So be aware of that you check the right one. So we're going to go with English and click enter. United States, enter. America English, enter. And this is very quick. This kind of reminds you of an old DOS installation, and which I'm kind of joking here and chuckling, but you know what? It's quick. it's a lot faster. So they're removing all the bells and whistles. So let's see how this turns out. This is a great experience. Okay, so let me get rid of, let's see what it says, set up passwords. So here's my root password. We're going to put enter, re-enter. So for those of you who've installed systems in the past, this is what I would call the most basic setup, which I haven't seen in a long time. The name of the user will be KC7NYR-2. Enter. Select username for the new account. I will do the same one. Hit enter. A good password will be, okay, so I did a root password. Now I'm going to do the username password next. And hit enter. Re-enter it to make sure I did it right. So this is very old school. All right. What time zone am I in? I'm in Pacific, and I'm using the key up and down to select these. Hit enter. All right, so this is real interesting. It's good to see this. I have not seen an installer like this for a long time. So, partition disks. The installer can guide you through the partitioning a disk. If you prefer, you can do it manually. So we're going to go guided partitioning, use entire disk, because this is a virtual machine. This will be the same if you're installing it on your hard drive. Click enter. Here it tells me how big it is, and that's what I want. 34 gigs. It tells me the virtual box. Click enter. Now here it says the disk can be partitioned using several different schemes. You're unsure, choose the first one. All files in one partition. Recommended for new users. Go ahead and hit enter. You notice how it's highlighted red. Just hit your enter button. And there we are. And this is an overview. Tells you what you're going to do with it. You can read this if you'd like. If you notice at the bottom it's highlighted, finish partitioning and write changes to disk. Click enter again. Here you have partition disks. You have now selected partitions for the use of the SWAT space. Enabling SWAT space is recommended so the system can make better use of available physical memory. And do you want to return to the partitioning menu? If you do not want to go back to the partition menu and assign SWAT partition, the installation will continue for the SWAT space. And it says, do you want to return to the partition menu? In this case, no. I want to go, there you go. Right, now it says here, you got to read everything because this is not like the regular menus that you see. Write changes to disk. I tabbed over to yes. And there you go. Now this is a lot faster, but it does remind you of the old days if you ever installed a DOS system or a Windows system prior to, well, the old Windows systems, I should say. So here we go. The install is taking place. I'm going to let this run so you can actually see the old school way, which Parrot is doing. And I've never seen this in a most recent Linux distribution. Most of the installers have a big GUI interface and you don't have to tab, and it's a lot more intuitive. This is more, you got to read it all and do your tab keys, but we'll see how it turns out. One thing we learned at the beginning of the install was that I just did the live CD and never booted. That's because I didn't tab down to the install. So that was my error. So I'm kind of glad I made that error so we can share the experience together and make sure that we read everything as we go. Okay, so installing the system, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here. Okay, so now we come to install the Grub bootloader on the hard disk. So let's read this together. It seems that the new installation is the only operating system on this computer. If so, it should be safe to install the Grub bootloader to the master boot record of your first hard drive. Warning, installer failed to detect another operating system that's present on your computer, modifying your master boot record will make your operating system temporarily unbootable, though grub can be manually configured later to boot it. Install the grub bootloader to the master boot record. So in this case, I'm going to say yes, install it. Okay, you need to make a newly installed system bootable by installing the grub boot loader on the bootable device. The usual way to do this is to install the grub on the master boot record of your first hard drive. So, device for your bootloader installation. So I'm going to go to where I'm doing it now, which is the virtual box. I would not recommend doing it manually. Click Next. And for those who may not know, the grub bootloader, without it, your system will not boot up, period. So in most of the Linux installers, will do this automatically. But with Parrot OS, it does not. So I wanted to take the time to read through the instructions so you would understand that this is not a standard Linux installation. So now it's running the grub install on the drive that I actually installed the installation. So now it's finishing the installation. It's setting up the users and passwords now, and hopefully we'll follow this through and find out what's next. And remember, this is the first time I've done this, so I'm learning as I go through this video with you. So let's let it finish the installation, and hopefully this will not take too much longer. Okay, here we go. So now it's moving along. It's almost done here at 36%. We'll go ahead and stick with it. It's always nice to see what's coming rather than me just leaving this part out and you're scratching your head and thinking what's going on. So that's the whole purpose of walking through a complete installation, so you can see up front what's going to happen. So this says here, finish the installation. Installation complete. So it's time to boot your system to the new system, boot into your new system. Make sure you remove your installation media so that you can boot into your new system rather than restarting the installation. So now we'll click continue, and now it's removing the live CD packages. And remember, live is the version that lets us just boot it up to test it, but instead we actually installed it on the virtual machine. In your case, you probably installed it on your hard drive, on your laptop, or your desktop. So that's we're at the finishing steps of the installation now. It should not take much longer. And then the next step is, of course, rebooting the virtual machine, which can also be interesting. At times I've found that the reboot can be problematic. Other times it reboots without a problem. So we'll let this complete the installation. Okay, so it looks like we are at the boot menu. As you can see, after the installation, the virtual machine goes right into the boot menu, and we're waiting for the Parrot OS now to boot up in the virtual machine. We'll see how long this takes. Okay, so now you can see we saw a splash screen, and it's good to see all this because it's not a normal boot process. And here we are. It brought us to the login screen. So it looks as if the virtual installation was a success. How we know is it created the account, KC7NYR-2, and it's ready for me to enter my password, which I'll do now. And I'll enter that. Let's see what it does. So this is the first boot of the virtual machine. It's Plasma made by KDE. You can see that at the bottom right hand of the screen. And this is what Plasma KDE is looking like, running the Parrot OS, which is based on Debian. So again, this was not a standard installation. Okay, so now it's asking me to look at these settings again, which is not normal, but we'll go ahead and go through the settings. Now it's detected the wire. It says it's activated, so let's click OK on the keyboard. And as far as I know, it's okay. Okay, so now question, do you want to check for updates? Well, that's great. Let's walk through it. So let's click yes. So it's doing it automatically. Now, of course, it wants my admin password, and that's okay too. We'll click enter. So this is what it looks like. So it's a different interface. It seems to be a little more primitive looking, but very efficient. And I do like Debian, but this is a different look. So here we go. It says I got 1,230 packages can be updated. Do you want to upgrade? Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to go ahead and run them. Click yes. And let's see what it's going to do. So this is the first time. So as Linux updates run, they're quite efficient. Debian usually runs them like this, which is nice. It's line by line, and they're showing you what's going on. And it's a lot faster. So with a lot of Linux distributions, if you run like Linux Mint, you're not going to see this part of it. But with Debian, it's a lot quicker, and they'll actually show you the line-by-line updates. So here you go. If you're a previous Windows user and you're just now looking at Linux, you'll never see this. You'll just see a big line. It takes forever. It could take a long time to update your system, whereas with Linux, it's much quicker, and you're getting to see it live. So for instance, if one of these line command installs failed, you would see why. So you notice how quick it's running. It's quite snappy. So we'll go ahead and let this upgrade. You can upgrade and install. If you look at the very bottom of the screen, you'll see the progress right here. This little clock there, which is cool. And you'll go over here and see the console showing that I am upgrading. Okay, and at the bottom, you'll see other menus here available. Your clock and the date. You're going to see your volume, your internet connection, and let's see what this one's for. Okay, that would be your screen height adjustment. Okay, and why this is running. We can move it over here to show you know you're not stuck into this. It looks like with the KDE Plasma desktop, over here at the right top, you'll see this drop-down menu. And again, this is to log out or make adjustments to configure your desktop, which we're not going to do right now, but I'm going to show you this why it's running. Okay, so why that's running in the background. Down at the bottom, Dolphin is the file manager. So if you want to look through your files, you can click on that and check out your files as well. Okay. Once again, we're in a virtual machine, so just a reminder, at the very top outside of this box, everything inside this box is the operating system, and everything up here, this is called the virtual machine settings. One thing you like to do once you get everything updated is before you restart, take what's called a snapshot, or you can take this outside the virtual machine before you reboot it. Okay? So we'll let that run. Let's let it run and take a look here. It looks like this is your application launcher in the bottom left-hand corner. So if you click on that, you see your favorites, your applications, And it kind of just simply shows everything here. You got cryptology. Of course, in this menu, you'd click on it, and it would show all the programs that are available. KeePass XC, that's for encrypting your passwords, and all the other programs. If you want to go back, you click on Applications, and then you go to Development, and here you'd see your development software. Okay, let's go back to Applications. Games, they got board games. It's something there. They got a chess game here available. And let's go to Graphics. You click that. They got a drawing program, image editor through GNU. They got a photo manager through Shotwell, which is a very popular program. And if you click here again, you go back down to Office. Looks like they got all kinds of cool stuff. LibreOffice is available. Personal Home Bank for personal finance. Project Manager, Spreadsheet, and so forth. Okay, this is a quick look. I'm not going to go through everything here. Pre-testing. This is for your maintaining access and your wireless testing. That's pretty cool. And then you have your settings, which everybody, all systems have. Bluetooth, easy way to configure your firewall. And Package Manager, this is Synaptic, which is how you update. You can add programs. This is available in all Linux distributions. Print and your system settings, which puts you in another window. Okay. Okay, so and here goes your system settings. And in here you could do look and feel, lock screen, energy saving, and display. So those are all under system settings. And again, I'm not going to do all this stuff, but you got all these here: fonts, icon, application, workspace, behavior, shortcuts, startup, shutdown, right? And search. So that's pretty cool. All right, so it's still updating. We'll continue on. Back to applications. We'll go to Internet. Here you'd have most likely, of course, your BitTorrent, IRC client, your email program, monitor Tor circuits and connections, Onion, share network, remote desktop. And let's see what else we've got. We got Tor browser. That's for those who want to take a look at the Onion network, which is the web that's not monitored by the federal government. You also got a web browser, which is Firefox. Then you have a web browser called Concore, and then Firefox Profile Manager. Pretty slick. Okay, let's go on. You got your systems settings here, which goes through everything. Let's take a quick look. Your package, it's a gparted, which is for those who are familiar with Linux, you use to partition your hard drive. Some of these I'm not familiar with. There's your terminal, which you do everything in Linux with. Now this is your bleach bit, excuse me. This is how you clean your unnecessary files up. And I'm not sure, this is wallet, so if you're buying something online. Virtual keyboard, and I'm not sure about that one because I don't use it. Okay, and let's go down to utilities. Just take a quick look. Color temperature adjustment, GNU Privacy Assistant, that must be cool. And then again, we got the password program here. Text editors, which we all use, and virtual keyboard. So it looks like it's got plenty there. And then your help center here for those who want to read up on what's going on. You can see a little bitty thing. And this is pretty much anything you want to know about KDE Help Center. Plaza Manual applications. This pretty much covers everything that you need to know about the system. So it looks pretty handy. Okay, and we're still updating. Okay, so I'll just let the updates run. That's pretty much what we got going on in Parrot. I'm going to go ahead and allow this to finish. And here's one more window. grant permission without asking for a password in emulator, excuse me. So it's possible that you are being allowed to run specific programs as a root user without the need for a password. This is not a problem, simply a notification. So this is really a security alert to say, listen, if you don't want that to see this again, you just click this and hit OK. So all updates are complete. Very cool. Okay, so we're all done. That's your walkthrough through Parrot OS. Looks pretty slick, guys. This is KC7NYR, and thank you for joining me in the walkthrough with Parrot OS. It looks like a pretty slick Debian system.